You see what I mean, man? Do you see what I mean? That fight in episode 2.
And as I was watching, I was saying to myself, you know, it's a good episode, but man, a lot of talking. It'd be nice if there's a little fighting or something. That last 3 minutes, shut me the fuck up.
Do you see what I'm saying, man? Do you see? Do you see?
Well, here, we'll get to that in a second. I mean, that whole thing deserves to be talked about. But yeah, you know, let's talk about this. First of all, I really love how the last episode ends with this big montage going on, and you know, and he hears a kid crying. He's like, "Yeah," he pulls down the mask. Let's go. And he ends up in a dumpster.
That is not how I thought this episode was going to open.
Yeah, I was
like,
like, oh.
all right, we're going to see some major. Like, I thought it would dump into basically something like you would see at the end of this episode, where it's the big ass kick. Instead, yeah, after all of that, he just wakes up in a dumpster.
And just like, oh well, I guess he didn't save the kid. You know, and of course he gets him later. But you know, the more and more I'm seeing this. You know, at least with these first 2 episodes, I mean, that's too early to judge, but I'm sort of seeing the restrictions of a TV show, because clearly, even in the first episode, yeah, there's 1 or 2 fight scenes, but there's not that many for a comic book, the action show, but kind of like an anime, they use it very smartly, like a really smart anime, even if it doesn't have a ton of money behind it in its budget, will do stuff. Well, to get a really stylized shot, but you have like a close-up of the eyes or something like that, and you won't see the mouth moving because that costs money. So, but they'll do it very stylized, and that's sort of one thing with this show. It doesn't look like it has a ton of money, but with what they do, they use it in all the right spots, where they have obviously not a ton of lights, but they put in the right spots so you get some nice shadows. And
it's not even that they don't have a ton of lights. I just don't think they have a lot of sets that are that interesting. So stylistically,
so they
it's
need
like,
to use
well,
the
if
lighting,
we shoot in the dark, we don't have to worry about lighting half these sets.
And you know, and you just pick good actors to make this stuff work. And then yeah, when you do the fight scenes, you just put so much into these sort of small snippets of fights, but are so effectively done and clear. I mean, this episode has very little violence, really, until the end.
Well, then the
well, I was going to talk about the interrogation.
torture scene.
Yeah. So you got Rosario Dawson, who's, you know, I don't
Wait,
remember.
I thought it was Rosie Perez.
Oh, shut the fuck up. When she came out, I said, is that Rosie Perez? I got the names mixed up.
I just kind of looked at Doug like, huh?
No, the actresses clearly had nothing in common. They're
I know, I just
pretty
thought it was
different.
funny.
But, no, I said Rosie Perez. But they got Rosario Dawson, who I haven't seen turn in, like, a bad performance ever, but I've never seen, like, a holy shit, that was, like, really fucking good performance. And in this, like, even though it's not, like, you know, the media's role, I felt like she kind of made something of it. You know, when she's like, look, I want to get behind you, I want to believe you, but
you're a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, but you gotta give me some proof that you're worth following. And when she said that, I'm like, well, I really fucking believe her.
And
that
I like
she really wants to follow this person.
I like the slippery slope that Claire has of, I don't know what to make of all this, and I don't want some guy dying on my carpet, and all of this, and then finally, I think it's the reveal of when he says, you know, where's the kid? The kid's already dead. What are you gonna do with the kid? We just sell him. Like, the more he talks, the more you can almost see the wheels in her brain turning, and she's like, all right, this guy really needs to go down. Like, well, and that's when she's like, no, Daredevil, the trigeminal nerve, the trigeminal.
I think there's a sense, too, that, like, I don't know, they didn't give away her backstory or anything, I don't recall, but you kind of get the feeling like she's been through some shit.
Yeah,
you know, and when she sees, like, this guy, you know, that maybe she's seen a bunch of these guys do this kind of stuff, you know, not handing it there, where it's like, you know, okay, dick, I'm gonna help out with it. Yeah, right here.
I mean, there was this conversation I was having with a relative. We were talking about that she might be night nurse, or one of the night nurses, which was a group of nurses who helped tend to superheroes. But the name's different. Like, there were, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them or something. One of them was actually named Linda Carter, which is the only one I remember because I thought it was hilarious that she was named Linda Carter. But it's not Claire. What's it? Claire Temple. Yeah, so I don't know. I would have guessed it's actually night nurse. I don't know where they're going with this, or if they're just screwing us around and they're like, no, it's gonna be nightmares. Like so, but that's a possibility that I think is on the table.
Well, and
there's certainly some similarities. So
you have this backstory that again because I saw the movie, I know what's going to happen to the father. I know how it's going to happen, all that stuff. But by God, I didn't want it to happen. I legitimately
you're completely
bought.
Wrapped up.
Totally, even though I've seen it in a million movies before, I totally bought the relationship between him and his son, and it felt legit. And this episode, even though
it's hard on, we were talking about how we feel sorry for this kid actor because it's a tough, thankless role to constantly kind of be in the position.
You're crying, you're screaming, you're crying,
hey,
you're
Dad,
screaming.
Everything's fine, Dad. Yeah, we're gonna be fine, Dad. Aren't we? Oh God, Dad! Oh God, Dad!
He does it well. He does it very well.
But he pulls it off, yeah, in such a way that I'm like in a lesser movie, in the Daredevil movie, like for instance, it doesn't work. But here, this kid and this actor playing his father, really, like, I buy the camaraderie they have, and this will be, you'll find out later why this is so important, because it's going to juxtapose this with other characters. So.
Well, and I'll say this, to the defense of the Daredevil movie, this has an entire episode to dedicate.
Yeah, no, it has way more to do with.
But yeah, it's... But like what you were saying, I mean, we've seen this a million times, a million movies. You know, yeah, I'm gonna win that fight. You're gonna see everything's gonna be fine, kid. Gosh, Dad, it's gonna be great. Oh, you're dead. I mean, we've seen this like a million times, but by God, like you see him when you see him going into the ring and getting ready to go. I'm just like, I don't want him to die. I do not want this guy to die. And when he turns and he hears them shouting his name and he closes his eyes.
I love that scene. Yeah,
and then interrupted by that gunshot. I mean, I was just like,
just when he enters the ring, the way it built it up with the music, and he's got the sort of the boxer sort of shawl over his head. It's almost like a holy moment. Like this is like some sort of going to mystical scene out of a cathedral. Like, you know, it's such a great scene.
Yeah, no, it was very effectively done.
And I forget, like, in the Daredevil movie, he didn't cash out his money and leave it to his kid, right?
Not in the cut that we saw. I don't know.
That makes a huge difference because it's a self-sacrifice. And I mean, he's doing it for self-respect and to show his kid that he can win.
Yeah, no, because that's what I was asking.
But it's more than that. It's more like I think he knows he's gonna. There's a good chance he's not gonna make it out of this if he does this. And so he's like, well, I have a chance to provide for my son. Yeah. I think he feels almost a sense of uselessness. Mm. Like, there's something to that character, and of course there's this whole Catholic sense of guilt and sacrifice. That was a great line, too.
Oh, about
the one of punishment, and somebody who just constantly takes punishment without ever complaining. He's like, well, that last part's just being Catholic.
Yeah.
But yeah, there seems to be this sense of self-sacrifice and, like, finding use for yourself. And I always get the feeling that the father feels like he's not smart. He says he was never good at school. You know, his only way to provide is to kind of lose fights. Like, and I think he saw this as a way, like, I'm going to win back the self-respect of my son and provide for him for the rest of his life with this money.
Yeah. Well, and I think that gets to this episode, particularly seems to get to what I'm seeing as the strength of this show, which a lot of movies either don't do because they feel it's not important or don't do because they don't have time. Which it allows these moments for these characters just to be moments. That is the big advantage of TV. You can have time for this. And I'm thinking even like the Karen and Foggy just going out and getting drunk.
That was great.
I mean, it's like, but is it really...
I want that mythical eel drink.
Yeah, right? What's this eel shit? But even then, it's like there's not a ton of exposition going on. It's just a lot of character building, and I legitimately like watching them.
It makes me realize
walk the town and sort of let off steam and stuff. And I like that you can get away with that much more in a TV show than you can with a movie.
It makes me realize as much as I have enjoyed. I enjoyed the Avengers. The chunks of the Spider-Man films I enjoyed, Iron Man, and the big Marvel movies. And of course, The Dark Knight and the original Batman and Superman's. This may be a brave new world here because I would actually much rather watch 1,000 shows like this, taking a comic book and turning it into this, than I would probably going and seeing another comic book movie. Like, I'll go see comic book movies and I'll have a good time, but I'll be thinking of this. Like, I'll be thinking of, like, oh man, I wish it could all just be like a 13-episode series like Daredevil, because like it really kind of nails it.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't know if this is to its benefit or I think it's more to its benefit, but I don't even really see it as like a comic book show. I don't. I see it as this fascinating. I see it about a drama.
You know what?
As a drama about a vigilante.
I will say this. I would say it's a comic book show, but much more along the lines of that difference between comic book and graphic novel. It is a graphic novel show. Like, and right down to the way it's shot and the use of color, and it looks like a gritty graphic novel.
Yeah, like we said,
but that still is, like, in a way, an offshoot of, like, comic book, and so it still has that feeling to me, but I think I know what you're saying. It's not Spider-Man running around in spandex and bright and goofy and fun.
Well, even with like the Dark Knight, I mean, it's still a superhero going around being a superhero. And
but he's low tech. He's low tech and low key. He has some superpowers, but he's really just some guy in a black mask.
And the crime fighting is not the focus. Which, like I said, and I'm not saying that's bad. It's an interesting take because that usually is the fact. That's what you go to see when you see a comic book show or movie.
Well, I was joking online that the funny thing about this show, because I also have seen a few episodes of The Flash, which I think is also really awesome. So both DC and Marvel are on their game. But the funny thing is when I was watching it, and some of it is the nature of the character of The Flash and Daredevil. Some say Daredevil is Marvel's answer to Batman, and like, to a certain degree, but like when I watch the way each show is set up, it makes me laugh because I'm like, Marvel has given me the Batman I've kind of always wanted. At least out of like the films, like both the Nolan and the Burton. I do like the Burton films with them. I feel like somehow this is closer to the Batman, the dark, gritty, old school 30s and noir Batman. You know, kind of like, yeah. And the Flash, meanwhile, is kind of giving me the Spider-Man I always wanted. Mm-hmm. And they're both the opposite companies doing it. It's Marvel's Daredevil and DC's The Flash, but I'm like, DC's giving me a better Spider-Man on the one side with The Flash, and Marvel's giving me the better Batman, with this. So it's just kind of funny, but hey, more power to them. Like, I'm glad that both of them are churning out really good products in TV, even if it's in Bizarro World.
The one thing... Well, first of all, we were talking about the graphic novel and stuff like that, and whether or not it's kind of a comic book show. After this episode, I mean, can you see, like, that line about the Avengers? And yeah, they punch him through buildings. I mean, I can't connect this world to Avengers. I just can't. I love it. I think it's great, but I'm looking at this like, no. This was not the same place where Loki came through and, the Hulk took him and smashed him. I'm like, this is a totally different creature, so I do think it's a little odd that it's supposed to take place in that same environment. That's not to say those movies can't have dark moments, but this
honestly, I can see it. The problem is the styles of the filmmaking are so different. The Avengers is definitely very...
I wouldn't even argue a little bit of the tone. I mean, it does,
witty, and
they definitely
have
some dark... They can get some dark tones, but I mean, this is like...
the tone of this is dark, but this is also... How do you put this? Like, the Avengers... I don't want to say Avengers versus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because wasn't a giant fan of early Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But this is kind of like the Avengers level heroes versus, Daredevil, Murdoch's working from the ground up. He is literally the pond scum on the bottom, like working in the pond scum on the bottom here. Compare with the Avengers who are fighting the gods and this and that. Like, he's just fighting criminal scum.
I guess it's kind of like it's kind of like, let's say, the Keaton Batman and the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, everyone's like,
how are those connected? And they mentioned like Metropolis once or twice, and it's like, well, I just can't say. It's like you kind of just got to accept it. Like, in this universe, apparently there is a room for a Gotham and a Metropolis. And
I guess I wasn't saying that like a huge major problem, but it is, tone wise, it's like that is a little odd. That is a little jarring.
It is totally different. Like, but in the same way I love Avengers for the lightheartedness and goofiness, God, I love this for the grittiness. Like that.
The one thing I have to be honest, I didn't know about. It's one thing you punch the guy, and and we've seen the heroes like whatever do bad things to bad guys and stuff like that. There really is something about taking that knife and putting it whatever above his eyebrow or his eye, whatever that was.
Trigeminal nerve.
I mean, I was just like,
ugh.
I mean, and I'm sure they'll give like whatever a reason why he does that, like even more and just more of a backstory. But I was
They
just
delve
like,
into the philosophy, but I mean, I think what you saw is what you got. He's like, I want to find out where this kid is, and I'm willing to torture this guy to do it.
yeah, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying I don't know about. That's the one scene where I was like, I don't know, did that maybe go too far? I'm not sure.
He just pushes him off.
No,
Afterward.
well, and I can't explain. Well, even that I predict. I'm like, and push him, and he pushes him. You know,
I mean,
Batman throws the guy off and
Daredevil
breaks
was
his
always
knees
darker.
and stuff. But yeah, no, there's something about just that is
But I mean,
such a
that is
graphic-
like very old school Batman dark. Like, I don't really care if this guy dies. Like,
I never
really
seen,
dark.
No, it's like I've seen Batman punch people, and I've even seen him fucking carry a gun and stuff. But I never see him cut a guy. There's something about just cutting a guy
I'm talking
that
like
is so unpleasant.
original Batman, where like he really was like a crazed freaking vigilante who was, you know, like one step removed from a fascist. It's like, I'm gonna fucking do what I want. Like that early like first year kind of Batman. Like, I'm not talking about the Nolan Batman who's like, well, I'll drop a guy from one story, and if he breaks his ankles, oh well.
You know what it is.
I'm talking about the Batman that killed people.
You know what it is, and again, this could be playing to its strength, not really its weakness. Is that character is so charming and likable, and you know, seems so caring and loving. You want to be with this guy. That when he does something like that, it is really jarring. But you could make
It's
the argument
duality.
that's the duality of the character.
Besides, he's Catholic. He can go confess it, tell himself off, and then do it again.
There's something, I don't know, like I said, when you bring a knife in, I don't know why, that seems like a point where it's like, that just gets like maybe a little too sick.
Keep this in mind. Who gave him the advice?
Oh, she was pretty
The
fucking
nurse
sick, too.
did, which I thought was badass too. It's like, I'm going to use my medical advice to hurt somebody.
See, I thought it was more like he was gonna scare with that, and then he was finally gonna break, but no, he fucking got him.
That is the clear violation of her oath. You know, above all else, do no harm, and stab him right above the eye there.
Yeah, but I mean...
But again, you could see how they got there. He keeps trying, and he's getting nothing, and you could almost feel her disgust and reaction at what he's saying, like, we'll sell the kid, we'll kill the kid, who cares, like this and that, and finally she's like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. This kid's gonna die if we don't get this information. Like, she goes through the same process in her own head, and that's
I mean, and don't get me wrong, if there is a reason to do that, I mean, that's a legit reason. But it's... I don't know. Maybe it's just like a weird knife thing I have, but I really felt that might have been pushing it a little bit. I'm totally not saying I'm right.
Oh no! When I saw it, I flinched. Like I was like, oh my God.
No, and
I saw him. I saw the kid stitching up his father earlier.
Yeah, I know.
That didn't bother me at all. But that scene, like the performance helps too, because that guy is like giving it his all. Just
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not claiming why does that work and not, you know, whatever, Batman breaking a guy's ankles when he throws him off a building or all these other things. I don't know, but it is something where it's like I'd be laying I don't know. That might have been
it works.
Little
it
much.
Works in Dark Knight. I just feel that it's always glossed over though. Like, and he breaks the guy's ankles, then gets him rigid, boom, like walks in. Like there's no dwelling on it. Like. This one just dwells on it like, oh no, we're not going to shy away from this. This isn't just going to be a quick, like, you're going to see what this guy is going to do to get what he wants.
But again, when you go from something like that where the violence is very, you know, pretty gruesome, I mean, even if it's not super gory, it's pretty gruesome, to that fight at the end where it's like, yeah, you see him sort of do these flips and jump off and stuff, but it all looks doable. It does not look too comic bookish, and it's still, like I said, it sounds like it's really... they're really hitting each other, and okay, yeah, let's talk about that fight scene, because this is one of the few fights, and I love it. This is another thing I realize they're really missing in some of these action films. They're missing the tired. They're missing the breathing.
Well, that's what makes that scene, is those scenes where Daredevil kind of starts to collapse, and the other guys are just like, there's a wonderful scene where they all get up almost simultaneously, like,
yeah,
all right, give me... Okay, let's do this.
Yeah,
and you could see Murdoch kind of following their lead, almost like, I'm not gonna get up first, you get up first. Like, they're all like waiting for each other to get up, like, because if I can...
They start waiting to see what the other's gonna do.
Well, yeah, because like, if I could, it's that, I don't want to say laziness, but just that I'm in the middle of a fight and like, I'm tired, like, if I can get another second or two to relax,
yeah, just to get my...
And they're all taking that and slowly getting up, like, like, you get up first, no, you get up first, alright, we're getting up, guess we're doing this again, like, Oh, it's so
You know, and
hilarious.
you see them all really straight. Daredevil, you know, the whole episode is dedicated to describing his wounds. So when he goes in there and he's really hurt, you know exactly where and how he's hurt.
Speaking of knowing, the setup for that whole scene of taking the one camera, and there's a number of tricks. There's no way it's all one shot.
Yeah, they definitely cut. And they switch out the stunt.
But taking that one shot, what's supposed to look like one shot, and going through and giving you the entire layout.
How many guys?
Where the kid is, where these guys are going and how it's set up, and then flipping around to show you where Daredevil's coming in from, and then flipping around again, so it's like the geography, and then just letting the camera sit still and only moving slightly during a few scenes, and just letting the fun unfold.
Though here's the one thing I just now realized. Okay, so I'm assuming there was a guard or a couple guys or something at the front door, because why would he just walk in and make sense? So you assume he took those guys out. Alright, so he took those guys out. Now those guys would have phoned or something, and he obviously took them out, and they didn't know. They go in their rooms. What's to stop Daredevil? He goes in, he hears these guys in these rooms, and maybe he just waits to say he knows they're not coming out or something. He's just like, okay. He just goes to the kid, grabs the kid, runs the hell out of there. Why did he have to fight those 2 rooms of guys?
Well, what if
one of them got up and came to the kid or saw him or something? Maybe
he's gonna carry a kid out, and if one of the guards sees this unfolding, is that when Daredevil just goes, "Oh, jeez!"
Well, no, and you
carrying
can say
this
too,
kid and just running away.
You can say too, if he get caught in the room with the kid, he is cornered. He has no wiggle room.
I think he thought too that he can get the jump on them and surprise them, and he kind of did.
Yeah,
he's able to toss a TV at one of them. That was my favorite. The TV that hits the guy.
Yeah, guy looks over, pong, falls down.
Oh god, what a fight!
But and the importance. The importance of showing when a character is tired and drained, and everybody is and stuff, is it shows the strength of the hero. It shows the strength of, okay, he's really tired, he's really hurt, but he's going to get up and keep going.
Not only that, but one of the things I love about this show, and we'll keep coming back to this, is juxtaposition of showing one side versus another and how they affect each other. And in this case, showing his whole backstory and his connection with his father is what almost kind of informs everything he's doing in the present with saving this kid. Like, you could feel the loss of his father, and you can tell that there was something about this abduction, because he's chasing after this kid since the end of episode 1. There was something about this abduction in particular that really is getting to him.
He doesn't know the kid. Any other show or movie would have to know the kid.
Yeah, it's bugging him on a deep personal level. Like, he took this one personally, and I think it's that. And the way his final words to his dad were, "Daddy, Daddy," and the way it keeps cutting back to the other kid, who also says "Daddy," they're like juxtaposing these two things. Like, it reminds him of something of that he's lost, and therefore he's like, I'm gonna fix this. And it's something the show does like the whole way through. Things that happened in the past inform the present. And I just love it. Like, it worked well in this episode, it'll work well in future
Well, that was
episodes.
something in the last episode actually I forgot to mention, when, he's down on the ground as Daredevil, he's beat up, and he's still, this guy's coming to kill him or whatever, and we cut to that flashback, and just when he says, it doesn't directly, I don't even know if it does directly impact it, but just when he says, "Now get to work," and he steps up, it's like, I don't know, like, that really connected. Even if I don't even know the whole, I'd have to see it again, but if the whole scene, the whole flashback did, just him saying, "Now get to work," with him standing up, it's like,
how many
really
times have we seen comic book movies where there's flashbacks that they just feel arbitrary, like, and there's a flashback just to have a flashback. Like, they don't really connect to anything. Like, you want them to connect somehow to the rest of the movie, but it just feels like, oh, we wanted to give some character development, we didn't know where to fit it, so just throw it here.
Another great edit that actually, again, that triggered that triggered a flashback is when he says there's a guy going door to door, he has this really strong cologne, he's going to come to the door, there's some things you don't know about me, blah, 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 and then you hear boom, 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 and it turns out it's the punching. I was like, oh, I thought that was the knocking at the door. It is the knocking at the door as well, because when it comes back, they're answering the door, NYPD, come on, open up. So it's like that triggered the flashback, and as well as everything that's going on with the kid, it reminds him back of his, childhood and everything. So there is a connection. And I think the last thing I probably have on this is, again, just going back to the characters when you show how strong they are in their weakest moments, and that includes physically. I'm sure there's other movies where I've seen it, but the two that jump out the most to me is actually Batman, which I know is kind of weird, but when he's getting his ass kicked by that guy before he goes after the Joker, it's just sort of, he's legitimately having trouble, he's getting blood out of him. I just remember as a kid, I'm like, what, Batman can't bleed? No, Batman, fight back, and I just got so invested, because
I always like the bit, too, where he comes out of the bat plane after it's destroyed and blows the smoke out of his mouth. Like that, too, like,
there's something about, like, you get much more invested when it kind of looks like what they can lose. And they can lose in a way you can quickly understand. And the first one that always jumps in my head, and I think the movie is really applauded for that, was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. When Harrison Ford is fighting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and like...
He always looks like he's on the cusp of losing. Like, he always just barely scrapes out a win,
and he looks tired, when in most...
the German pilot, he's like... All right.
Yeah, the bald guy, come here, and he is so tired, so he's like, all right, yeah, then
fakes him out.
Oh, let's just go. But no, my favorite, is when he gets shot in the arm in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the Nazis see, and he punches him in the arm.
Oh, you feel that.
Yeah, he is just, he's even going after him, he punches, he just goes, wow, like that, so you fucking feel that hurt, and then you admire him even more when he can come out of it, and he can pull it together.
Every blow it's the same thing in this show, you just feel
You really do, and that is so rare, and it's, on the one hand, it's kind of cringeworthy, because you're like, but you're so invested and you feel so good when he gets him back.
It's something I didn't feel it in Man of Steel. I don't really feel it in Avengers and the Spider-Mans. Most comic book movies, I don't feel any of the blows. And like, I'm sure some of that's on purpose because they're meant to be family.
Yeah, they're showing the stunts and the kind of, but you're right.
But it's nice to finally get one like that's dark and gritty enough to be like, no, you're going to feel every frickin' thud of like flesh against bone and
yeah, no, it's nice to
blood splattered everywhere.
It's nice to be reminded that this stuff, there's a reason we find this stuff exciting, is that if it did happen in real life it would be really chilling, there's that.
And it makes sense too, because basically at its core it's about boxing.
Yeah. There was I'm forgetting the name of it now, but there's a Kevin Costner movie where he said, whenever somebody Western, he said when somebody would shoot a gun, he wanted people to react like somebody shot a gun.
5'10" to you?
No. It was a Western. It actually wasn't that good, but it looked gorgeous. I want to say like Open West or something like that.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know actually exactly.
And it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that great. But every time somebody fired a gun, the room would go quiet and the gunshot echoed. And it's like it's like you felt like, holy shit, somebody just took exactly what this is, a machine that can project a small little bullet across so fast it can go through you and kill you, and it lets out a sound like thunder. And every time it happened, you felt it, and the room went quiet, and it just sent chills every time. It's the same thing here when somebody is punched. You hear that sound, and you feel it, and it just feels so legit, and it just gets you so much more invested.
Another good one, actually, just flashed to it, is that did something similar, Hunt for Red October, when he blows the KGB agent at the end. There's like this kind of gust of wind, and it's just... it's just the right amount of slow-mo that every impact you kind of feel like it just resonates, and I don't see that in a lot of comic book movies.
And I get what
honestly, I shouldn't even say comic book movies as if it's only
movies in general,
action movies, and that's like where the old '80s films, like, sorry millennials, we're old, but that's where I think the '80s films and the '70s films really nailed it. Like somehow we sanitized it. Like, violence has to be sanitized. Now, when you watch those 80 films, it's like, you feel the violence. Like, it feels like a punch in the gut. Whereas PG-13 films nowadays, it's too clean. And
but here's the thing. I know why we did that, and I'm not entirely against it, is because just punching people got boring. And now we got the Matrix and the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, we got the martial arts, which is beautiful and incredible and, amazing to see. So that it suddenly became much more showy and flashy, and for comic book movies, that's great, and for action films, that's great. But yes, we started to lose the actual investment of when somebody punches someone, it hurts, and it's gonna hurt like it should properly hurt, and that sucks you in once again to the reality of the situation. It doesn't have to be real, but you have to have a reality to that environment. And I think it sucks you in much more when you feel every single hit that's done. So this is a good combination that there are stunts. There is flipping and jumping off of walls and stuff, throwing TVs and everything, but you still feel the impact every single time. And it's a really good
Certainly
combo.
if you hit the trigeminal nerve.
Yes.
I just want to talk one more time, just again, about the use of color and darkness and shadow in every episode. The predominant color seems to be yellow and orange, and I love it because they're in Hell's Kitchen, and the whole thing is lit like it's fucking hell.
Yeah.
The bar has deep reds, the exteriors when they're on the roof are oranges, the interior of the apartments are yellow. Like, and anytime you're looking out the windows from their office or from Claire's apartment, it's always this deep orange yellow, like they're in a constant purgatory or something. And yellow's not an easy color to make look interesting, and they really do it well in this show.
Well, and when he's going down that alleyway in that long shot, the action scene, I was really impressed by how one room is yellow, another room is green, another room is red. I was just missing a blue. That was the one thing my OCD is like, gosh, I've got a blue. But
there's not a ton of blue. If I'm remembering the show right, I don't think
the blue only seems to be during the day.
During the day or sometimes some night shots.
No, fluorescent light or something.
There's not a ton of deep blue.
No, but that's hard to do. That is hard to get different colors in each room. You have to purposefully, really go out your way to do that because you change.
But the cinematographer and the director of photography, the lighting guys, it's just such an incredible job. There are just scenes where Rosario Dawson's her face is just lit with a faint orange, and it's just her against black. It's just a dark set behind her, and it looks like a Rembrandt painting. Like, it looks like somebody painted it or drew it from scratch.
Not like now.
Not like our crappy lighting.
But, something you nailed, we were talking about sort of these grainy-looking movies. I mean, even something like the new Avengers, as actually really good as it looks, there's sort of this, they're upping the exposure and the graininess to apparently make it darker, and honestly, Avengers isn't the best example, but, but like Man of Steel, we picked on it a lot, so I didn't want to bring that up. But sort of that style that a lot of people are doing, and I think
I will say this about Man of Steel. I think so. It's the easy recent target. I'm trying to think of a bigger movie that did it.
But something but there are other films that do this.
Yeah, a lot of films. It's not just Man of Steel. It's just because we're talking about comic books, so it springs to mind instantly. But
but the shadows
do this.
The shadows in this and the black and the light and stuff are very clear. They're not grainy. You can clearly mark out where the outline is and where the light source is coming from and stuff, and you don't see that.
And there's
probably like what you're seeing now because our lights just went.
There's a respect for shadows too, which is something like I think people think that to do a black and white film would be really easy. That somehow it's just like, oh yeah, well you just you just suck the color out of it and you turn it gray and no, all you've done is turned it gray. Just taking something and making it black and white is not the same as shooting something as if it were meant to be in black and white. And this is shot almost like a black and white film. It is basically light, dark. And the use of shadows in this is just amazing. And this is what sets this apart from other comic book films that try to be gritty by, it's going to be all gray, it's going to be all dark colors. But instead there's no differentiation between the light and the darkness, the shadow, the foreground, the background, and you just end up with just something that just looks like a flat gray mess.
Well, I think
just
you nailed
everything's gray, whereas this, it is just as dark as night versus something in the foreground which has a brightness to it, versus other scenes I see in other movies where it's just like, here's a scene in a room at night, but everything's just kind of lit the same. There's no real shadows, but it's gray or blue or green tinted, therefore it's dark. No, it's not.
Well, I think you nailed it with, it's not black and white, it's gray. Just because you suck out the color, have you ever actually tried to make something black and white, like solid black and solid white on film? It is trickier than it looks, but it is gorgeous when you get it right. So I think you're right. I think that by sucking out the color, they think they get black and white, but they don't. They get variations of gray. Sometimes you get a black, sometimes you get a white, but to have something mostly black and white is very tricky and takes great craftsmanship to do.
If you look at old 60s horror films like The Innocents or The Haunting, or even some of the classic Universal stuff, like, and look at how they're filmed. This is how it's done.
Or even Sin City, honestly.
Yeah, or even
Sin
Sin City's Sin City's a good example, and this reminds me of Sin City. That's how it's done. Like, that's how you accomplish that effect. And they're doing it with color, and it's gorgeous. And I wish more movies would do it like this. Because you can have a movie that has deep, rich, saturated colors. A lot of the colors in this, it's not desaturated. Some of these are rich yellows, rich reds, but it still feels dark and gritty as fuck.
It reminds me a lot of the only other film, in my opinion, that's still its own unique thing, but Dick Tracy. Kind of where it did this very extreme color, but this extreme dark shadows, and you can clearly, outline the shadow very clearly. It wasn't.
If you want to see how to bring a graphic novel to life, watch this show and take notes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in film school, take notes.
Yeah. So, good episode 2. Can't wait for 3.
Oh, it gets good.
So, we'll see you there.